welcome to the Twisted Pair, everybody. I'm Graybeard.
And I am Ashrad, and we have a very special guest with us today. And I'm not saying this because he's allowing me to do my apprenticeship at his shop, but he is a really cool guy that we've gotten to know. He and I followed each other on Instagram first, and then I walked into his shop when he was doing a Rojas event, and then we've built a friendship, and now I get on his nerves all the time. And love him.
No,
So,
that is not
So,
true.
so you brought him into the family
yes,
properly.
I did. And so this is Philip, and he is our manager at the Cigar Lounge. And one thing that he and I we talked about is that
Well, wait, before we get into that,
okay,
I'm at the UG again
okay,
as well. And this also happens to be Kelton's birthday week. So if I can get his attention over here, Kelton! Kelton!
telling him
Get
I'm not holding his neck.
Kelton, get over here. Get over here. Come on. Come on. Good, how you doing? Get right over here. I want everybody to give the man Kelton. We love him. We give him a hard time here at the UG, but UG would not be the same without him. A big happy birthday.
What's up, family?
Happy
Thank
Happy
y'all.
birthday.
birthday!
Appreciate you.
So you can't hear them, but they all said happy birthday.
I can see it.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank y'all.
Okay, so you had brought to my attention that
God,
this was Lancero.
Right.
This is Lancero month, right?
Yes,
The
February.
month
is
of
that really a
Lanceros.
thing? I love
You know,
Lanceros, but I mean, is this like one of those Facebook things where it's like it's Donut Day? Like, is it?
No, no,
the-
Who decided it's
it,
Lancero month?
I did.
Oh,
I'm just kidding. No,
did you
it's
really?
actually, I've actually gone back, and it's like several people who have done it like over the years. I want to say within the last 5 years, every February, several different people, several different shops have talked about February, like the month of February being Lancero. So love of the
so it's the
Lancero.
time. It's the time they celebrate it.
It's the time that they celebrate and bring awareness to Lanceros, because we've kind of talked about before, like I know that we've talked about it, like a lot of people don't want to smoke Lanceros. They don't. And they usually think that it's just a female cigar kind of a thing going on.
right, right.
And it's very feminine, it's long, it's narrow. Um, but that is not the case. So we want to
Well,
everything
yeah.
about it.
Well, interestingly, it's considered some folks consider it a feminine cigar. The cigar was made for Fidel Castro specifically by Cohiba back in the 60s. It was not a size that was around. There were Panatellas, but Cohiba had that size made specifically for him because he liked that. Now, I'm not a Castro fan, not a commie, but certainly I don't think anybody could call Fidel effeminate.
No.
I think it
Well, I
goes
mean,
down
they
to
could, but they
understanding
probably
what
wouldn't
you're
be
doing.
living very much.
You know what? As soon as I said that, Graybeard, I was thinking, God, I hope somebody runs with that because I left that wide open.
You did.
So thank you.
Well,
For
you
picking
know
the
I'm
ball up
going
and
to.
running with that. Yeah,
So
yeah.
I want to hear. I'm intrigued on this, but I've got to pause you because
Sure.
I've got to know what it is that we're smoking and pairing tonight. I mean, I'm going to start off. I've got the Bishop's Blend. Now, while it's not an official Lancero size, I mean, it's really more what we would call maybe a long still. But and correct me if I'm wrong, Philip, but I've seen a number of different, that's in that long still, maybe a little
Hmm.
bit longer than a Lancero that people will call a Lancero. But this is a
So
six and a quarter by 46.
I think technically the requirements for Lancero are 7 inches.
Hmm.
But something I just read in preparing for this was all Lanceros are Panatellas, but not all
Hmm.
Panatellas are
Villas are
Lanceros.
No,
exactly.
correct,
So
correct.
yeah, um, so yeah, I would say you're probably right there. I mean, technically, somebody would say, well, it's not officially because it's not, at least 7 inches. But I mean,
But it de-
I'm sure it
it
qualifies
depends
as, the gauge.
because
What's
It
that?
fits in
because
there.
he there are Bishop's blends. Like for example, here's the one that I'm holding, 7 inches by 42, which is a
Yeah,
Lancero
that
size.
would.
So you've got to be careful because they do make the Lonsdale and they do make a Lancero.
Yeah,
So, and it depends on what year that Bishop blend was in because they changed the vitolas.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I've got to get a little bit more of a cut on this one here. So you guys, I can
You
still
know,
hear you. Keep on going.
honestly, too, they make up names for this stuff. There's there's things out there that they'll call, whatever, and it's like, well, isn't that just like a robusto that's an inch
Hmm.
shorter or an inch longer?
Hmm.
And then they have to confuse everybody. Now because you've got to experience inventory and stocking. There's some dumbass names for sizes that they just make up to confuse us when we're ordering. So you can't just order and go, hey, I need 2 boxes of Robusto. And then you mean the El Capitan,
Hmm.
petite. Like what? No, just give me a damn Robusto, dude. But
Or the
everybody's got
Madurvo.
to fancy it up.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
The
I've
which?
seen so many of the Madurvos, which is really a petite Corona, but they don't want to call it a petite Corona, so it's called a Madurvo or something else like that. But
Mm-hmm.
so Philip, what do you smoke? Oh, and I'm drinking, pairing it with the Old Forester King Ranch, only available in
This
Texas. So
is
what do you got?
This is the Four Kicks Capa Especial limited edition Lancero. This was one of my favorite cigars back when it came out in 2020. It was one of the cigars of the year at the shop. It's an Ecuadorian Sumatran wrapper, so you're getting
Mm.
a good amount of sweetness, especially with this small gauge. Nicaraguan binder filler in the combination. Well, I should say Nicaraguan binder. The filler is a combination of Nicaraguan and Dominican. And then I'm not sure how it will burn or how it will go in this size. First time I've smoked this Lancero, I was saving it for you. Um,
I
but in the Robusto, it's a fuller bodied smoke by the time you're done with it, not while you're smoking it. It's reminiscent of the Yellow Rose from Crowned Heads, which is a full bodied cigar, but as you're smoking it, it is just so smooth and so rich. It's not till you get to the end of it that you realize, wow, that had a kick to it. That had some nicotine. So that's how the regular copy is. We'll see how it is with this one.
see now. Red was very sneaky. She actually wanted you to be at the top of the screen and not at the bottom of the
Put the
screen,
two
looking
great
down into her.
who put the cool beards together. Because since y'all said I couldn't have a beard,
I
so
I
You can do whatever you
almost
want.
I
This is
almost
America.
I
I
almost
almost
brought
said
out
this is
I almost brought that cigar myself.
the four
it
kicks.
is I
Yeah,
know
the
it's going
poor
to be
cakes.
tasty. I
Yeah.
almost said this is America. You can grow a beard if you want. Then I thought, well, maybe not. Uh,
I,
Somebody's making
on
a law.
on behalf of all men who love women, I'm going to ask you, please don't. So what are you
Although
smoking, Red? Although
you
I mean,
could be a beard if you don't want to grow one. You could find somebody who needs one and be that beard for them.
oh, that could go so many different ways, and it is not 9 p.m. yet, so I'm not going to go there. What are you smoking, Red?
Okay.
Take us away.
So I am smoking an Oscar's Vault Lancero. So here you go. These are only available at one cigar shop. It was a collaboration that Christian did when he was working. He came up with the idea when he was working with Caldwell, and then he created them, put them away, and they have been hidden. And they have some age. There's not. They don't tell the blend. It's a secret blend. But yeah, I can taste some Nicaraguan in there because pepper. But so I'll figure it out. I think there's a Corojo in here too. And then I am pairing it with the Sazerac.
Sazerac, right?
Right. So that is what I'm doing. I went with something a little bit sweet, but it's kind of like when you don't really know what you're smoking, because I haven't ever had this. This was gifted to me. I kind of like not sure exactly what to pair it with, so I took a chance on the rye. So we'll see how it goes.
So back to your story, Philip, about the Lancero and the
Hmm.
Cohiba and Castro and how feminine he was and or wasn't.
Yeah, so it went from there. Sorry, I was just writing uh, something down. Um, it became a popular size from there. It's well, I say it's a connoisseur size. They asked Michael Herklotz um, of God, I hope we get Fiera de Tego. I don't remember the name. I always want to say
Fear to
Maggio.
Taco, yeah, yeah.
Thank you. The uh, the type of smoker who smokes a Lancero, and he said it's an educated, confident smoker. And Carlito Fuentes declared his love for them. Pete Johnson's declared his love for
Mm-hmm.
them. And in meeting with cigar reps and talking to our reps and even some of their blenders, none of them smoke big gauge cigars, and all of them have a love of Lanceros and smaller gauge cigars. So you got to
Mm-hmm.
figure there's a reason for that.
Right.
Yeah, and
But
so
it,
many others sort of loving him too. I mean, Luciano loves his
yes,
Lanceros. Um, it's and we're seeing a lot more Lanceros coming in the boutique world. I mean, the king of small gauge himself, Noel Rojas.
absolutely. Um, people talk about price of them. They seem, they're more expensive, but that's because they're harder to roll and easy to mess up. When I
Mm-hmm.
started smoking during the boom, you couldn't get good Lanceros. They were
Mm-mm.
mostly plugged because they're
Yeah.
easy to overfill or underfill. But
Mm-hmm.
people have gotten so much better at that now. The factories. Um, who was it? Lito Gomez a few years ago even said he had maybe three people in his entire factory that could roll Lanceros. That's how
Mm-hmm.
difficult they are.
Mm-hmm.
And
Um,
you've really got to pay attention to the stems in there because when
you
you're
do.
used to rolling a bigger gauge, you want the stems in there to provide the combustion on it. But if you have even two stems in a long filler on a Lancero, you could get a clogged cigar.
You can't smoke it.
Absolutely.
You
I
can't
mean,
smoke it.
And
it because it doesn't
the
burn
other
through because
thing,
it's so narrow.
not every cigar is really you could make a Lancero size, but not every cigar should be a Lancero.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Jose Oliva of Oliva Cigars said the wrapper really has to carry the cigar. You have got to have a wrapper that you believe in enough that it can carry the flavor in order to make it into a Lancero. And that's why they made the Serie V Lancero
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
because they felt that wrapper was good enough. But you've smoked other cigars. It may not be a bad cigar. It could be a very good cigar. But if that
Mm-hmm.
wrapper just isn't got that kick to it, it's not going to be able to pull off a Lancero because you're going to get
Mm-hmm.
so much flavor from
Right.
it that it's
That
got
And
to
that
really
make
be able to carry the day.
that was one thing because like and I'm gonna say because like we have this cigar lounge in McKinney, which is where I'm most of the time because of the hours, and then Philip's over at the cigar lounge in Plano. And one thing that I love about whenever I go in there is we have a whole bay, a whole area that is filled with Lanceros. That's just devoted to Lanceros, and you don't really see that in many cigar shops that they don't have that. So when you're able to go in there, and this is like the most of the things, like I'll sit there and I will be talking to the guys. I'm like, oh my goodness, y'all need to try this. This is a Lancero. It's great. You're going to get more of a kick. Y'all like that bite of a cigar. And the thing that I get is a lot of the guys say, it doesn't look good in the size of my hands. My hands are big. It needs a big cigar, and
It,
they
well,
prefer the bigger ring gauge because
I can understand the comfort
of
hand
that.
because it's not like holding a pencil, but it gets to why are you smoking? What's the most important thing while you're smoking? Is it how it feels in your hands or how it tastes? Because if I'm spending money on a cigar, I'm not spending that money to hang out with buddies. I'm not spending it so I look cool. That was what the boom of the 90s was about. And a lot of those guys tapered away. And those of us who really enjoyed smoking stuck around. It's about the flavor. And that's the thing
Hmm.
we've got to understand is, are you smoking this because you want a great smoking experience and you really want to taste the flavor? Or are you just looking to kill some time and just to kind of smoke anything?
Right.
Or that you
I
just want a bunch of smoke?
I almost wonder
Pardon
if
me.
those who smoke the bigger gauges because they like how it feels in their hand is because they're trying to compensate for something else.
That's quite possible. I don't know.
Yeah,
I do,
I'm
but
sorry.
it's
I had to go
Well,
there with
it's
that
very
one.
well,
possible.
and here's I'm gonna add to that as a female. I'm sorry, but when I see a big, huge ring gauge in a guy's mouth, it I laugh. I really do. But I mean, each to his own. You smoke what you like. But my thing is kind of we talked about like the Lancero. It is one of the most difficult ones to wrap. There's not very many to make. There's not very many rollers that can make it. It has progressed. It is has kind of come back. It was there, it went away, and now it's come back. But the thing is, what I love about the Lanceros is kind of like we were talking about the Levas. So like I've had the Leva V's. I've had them in almost every Vitola except for the Lancero. And when I was over at Plano, I saw it was in the Lancero. And I'm like, how come I've never had this in a Lancero? Smoked it, and I was shocked because of how much bolder it was. It was like an in your face, which I knew like Lancero, you're going to taste more, you're going to get more of that wrapper of it. And that's where we get most of our flavor, so to speak, when you're smoking a cigar, is in the wrapper. And and there's not much binders and fillers because if you look, there's not much to pack in there, right? So
Right.
you're going to pick up a lot more different things than you would in a different size.
I would say that with the Lancero, you get more of a concentration of the flavors from the wrapper and the binder than you
Mhm.
do in other Vitolas. We do get a lot of flavor, and we talk about this in the fillers,
Mhm.
but because of say on a bigger ring gauge like that of a Robusto or a Toro, where you're talking about a 50 and a 52, there is a considerable amount more of the fillers in there, and so we do get more of those. But that's where we're starting to get more of those earthy, leathery type notes, because those are generally going to be your Visos and your Secos, which are lower on the priming and are going to bring out more of those. And so with these, and to Philip's point, you've got to be really specific with the type of wrapper that you're going to come out with to really carry that cigar because the fillers aren't there. And so if you're just going with just a standard run, and I don't want to say run of the mill, but just your basic Criollo or Corojo,
Sure.
that you're not going to have a Lancero that's just going to really knock you off your feet, as opposed to where if you had a broadleaf, a
Right.
Cameroon, a San Andres, Sumatra, that other types of leaves, seeds that carry more flavors.
There are blenders, there are manufacturers who will talk to you and tell you, "Oh my God, I just found this great wrapper leaf." I got to find something special to do with it, because they know it's not something you're going to make into an everyday cigar. It's going to have to be a limited edition. It's going to be something that warrants being set aside and noticed because the leaf's that good. Um, Knowing that we were going to talk about this, I took the liberty of preparing visual aids, if that's okay with you guys.
Yes, I'm
Yes.
ready to know because
So I came up with this routine back at my old cigar shop. Pardon me, cedar fever. Um, so hopefully this translates. But when we talk about Lanceros, and how you get all the flavor from the wrapper, I describe them to people as the double stuffed Oreo of cigars. Except that the cream filling is on the outside, because that's what everybody wants. But it's really kind of the same with any cigar. So actually, if you look at this, where the hell am I? There we go. That's kind of the makeup of a cigar, because that's your wrapper. That's where you're going to get the majority of the flavor, but you got to have the binder filler. That's important,
Hmm.
because that completes the flavor. But that's kind of the makeup of a cigar. But when you're smoking a 60 gauge, what you're getting is something more like this. Man, this is really backwards. So look, you're getting all this cookie and just a little cream filling. That's all the binder filler, that cookie part. The wrapper is that cream filling. So
yeah.
when you're smoking a 60 gauge, that's what you're getting. Uh, Not that it's bad, not that you don't like the cookie part, it just overwhelms the cream filling. So when you're getting a Lancero, what you're getting is that much more cream filling. And then you've got the binder filler. That's the cookie part. That's what you get when you're smoking a Lancero. And as we know, everybody loves the double stuffed Oreo more than the regular. So if you want to get that cream filling flavor, try the Lancero. Yeah, it's a little smaller in your hand, but again, why are you smoking? Think of it as like going to dinner at a nice restaurant, one where the portions aren't, falling off the plate, where it's uh, prepared by a professional chef. You're there to for your palate to enjoy the food, to get the most out of it, something exotic, unique. You're not there to fill your stomach and just load up. If you do that, you could go to Chili's or wherever and just
Right.
grab a huge burger, and that'll do it. But sometimes you just really want to get the flavor out of something and savor and enjoy. That's what a Lancero does for you.
Right.
You're really letting your palate enjoy what you're getting out of that leaf.
And I would say that's what you're
So,
getting out of a smaller ring gauge. When you're talking about a Lancero, we're talking about the
yes.
smaller ring gauges, and you've got the Longsdale, you've got the Corona, the Petite Corona, anything that really is that smaller than the 50 ring gauge. That's what you're getting out of that. But when we're looking at a
Yeah, it doesn't have to
Lancero,
just be a
we're
Lancero.
no, but when we're looking at a Lancero, really the time of the smoke on it is about that of in between a Robusto and a Toro. It's just
Mm-hmm.
a smaller ring gauge, but it's a longer. So if you want a longer smoke and have that flavor, go for a Lancero. If you want a shorter smoke, then go for a Corona or a Petite Corona. But you're still getting what we are talking about here, which is where the flavor from the wrapper, which is where your strong, really unique flavors are. We don't say though I'm getting a whole lot of cocoa, a whole lot of chocolate, or a whole lot of tropical fruits or stone fruits out of the fillers. No, that's coming from the wrapper itself. So I think that's a great analogy of what you just used there.
And really, the bigger gauges, that's a fairly recent thing. When I started smoking, uh, everything was more so topped out at maybe a 50 gauge.
Yeah.
Yep. Say
But in
likewise.
'98, see if you guys remember this bad boy. See if I can get that in there. Big Butt Cigars.
Hmm.
Okay, so you
They
need to
came
tell
out
me.
in 98. So they came out in 98. They were
Oh, it's
obviously
waking
a
up.
little bit of a gimmick brand, but their thing was their big butts. They make a 54 gauge. And at the time, it was like, oh my God, a 54 gauge. That's humongous. And now, pretty much that's pretty much a standard Toro.
Standard. Yeah.
I
But at the time,
did
54 was a huge cigar.
weren't they the ones that the first ones that came out with the Gordo as well? With the
I
Gordo,
think
which I believe
so.
is
Yeah,
either the 58 or the 60. So big butts really made their name known with that. Now we see like the Texas Lancero from Alec Bradley,
yes.
and you've got the extremely pissed off Christoph, which is 60
Are we
gauge. It's like 8 inches long.
are we tipping a 40 for Alec Bradley or no?
No,
I'm gonna get
no,
I'm gonna get in so much freaking trouble for that. No, everything's great.
no.
Everybody's very happy. Everybody's check
Congratulations
cleared.
to Alec Bradley. Congratulations and my condolences to both sides of the picture there to Alec Bradley.
Um, yeah, we actually sell the JFR Lunatic 880
Oh
um,
my goodness,
in the
yes.
Plano. Yeah, we one guy in the Plano shop. He's our only customer for it, and we keep track of him because we have to stock up on that. And if anything ever happens to this guy, we are sitting on these boxes of 880s. But we got to keep them in stock because he buys about a box and a half every 2 weeks.
I know some
So
people that love the lunatic, and I'll send them out your way if that ever happens. But
by
I
all
mean,
means, please do.
you've got other larger gauges that a lot of people like the LFD, the triple Ajero, the Digger,
They do the
which is
digger.
a 660.
It's just a lot longer.
Yeah,
I don't 8 9 inch. I don't remember. Um, I don't even know if anybody can find them. Can they? Um, but
I
certainly one of the more popular of the LFDs.
Yeah.
I
Guys
never go
who
looking
like a
for them.
bigger cigar will go for.
So
No,
we do
I.
have a. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was going to say it's you had mentioned Red the fact that we're able, that we have the Lancero section in Plano, and that's really because we're lucky enough to have enough space that we can do that. And
Hmm.
also, all of us in that shop love Lanceros, so we take the time to educate the customer about them because a
Hmm.
Lancero is a hand sell. Absolutely. Just like a petite Corona, uh, any of those smaller ring gauges, smaller sizes, some boutique brands, they're hand sells because somebody walks in, they're like, well, I haven't heard of it. I don't know that size. It looks small. It doesn't look like what I've seen on TV or in magazines. I want the one like that. So that's what they're going for. So you have to explain to them why they would want that and what they're going to get out of that in order for them to
Hmm.
make that purchase. And fortunately, in Plano, we've got box customers now who come in and will buy a box of Lanceros at a time. So it's really been beneficial to us, and then we've kind of been able to work in some of the smaller sizes, the petite Coronas and stuff. But it has literally been explaining to them, here's why you're going to like this. Yes,
Hmm.
you can get a bigger cigar for the same price, but you're really going to get something out of this that's going to be special.
Hmm.
So
And that's what you have to do.
all right,
So
so
I was going to go
let's
to the
yeah.
question. Yeah, I was going to go to our question. It says Albert
My my
says,
goat,
Philip, what
my
is your
go-to.
go-to? Your
So
go-to.
so so let's all do
Good
this,
question.
and let's add to this. What is each of our go-to Lancero, and what's your favorite Lancero?
Ah, you
Oh man, it that depends on the time of day, the week.
can't. What's in my hand?
Hmm. Um, I would say the Aladino Elegante for an
Hmm.
everyday Lancero is a really good way to go. It's priced right. Um, so much so that it's a good introductory Lancero for guys who haven't tried one because they're not out $15 to try the Lancero. Um, as far as a special occasion Lancero, probably like Ash said, the Serie V from Oliva, um,
Okay.
because it takes this great cigar and it just cranks it up another level.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so
And
that would be one of those where I wouldn't, not every day. I don't burn out my palate on it, but on a special occasion, that's going to be a memorable. Well, because you can,
yeah,
you've got
you
guys come
Oh
in
can.
and they're
yeah.
like, this is my third box of these cigars, and this one tastes different. Like,
Yeah.
no, they taste the same. You've smoked three
It just
boxes of these. Your palate's
yeah.
dead. Switch it
It's
up.
done. Yeah,
Yeah.
you have to. You really have to. And so oh my gosh. Okay, so I'm gonna go for my favorite one. It's got. I'm gonna say this one's my favorite one. Um, and I don't even think Philip knows this one. I don't think he's seen this one. So this is infringement. It is by our
Oh.
friends that are in Providence. Like look at
Ah, yes. Oh.
yeah. So this is one that was done by Providencia, and it is just like beautiful, creamy. It is. I mean, it is just a phenomenal smoke. I mean,
And it is such a unicorn now because they don't because Providencia is no more. And oh yeah, no, I that is good. Okay,
yes.
so
So that would be like one of my favorite go to that and it's kind of like it's another one that doesn't come out very often. So when they come out, I stock up on it, and it is the one that the Bishop's Blend. And and you'll see this in a Lonsdale and a Lancero. I prefer the Lancero over the Lonsdale. And the thing is the Lonsdale is a little bit fatter. The ring gauge is a little bit bigger, but it'll be the same length. It'll be about either 7 inches. Um, and so this is 7 by 42. And like anytime these come out, I've always just grabbed like a box full because they're just freaking phenomenal. And it's that pepper. And I've tried it, and that was really cool because that one's come out with a Lonsdale, it came out with a Robusto, it came out with a Toro. So you got to experience that cigar in many different vitolas. And it's just that Lonsdale just stands out, and it's freaking amazing.
I would say if to really understand the difference, and I'll get into mine in just a second, but to really understand the difference between each of the vitolas is if you can find a cigar like say like the Bishop's Blend, and you get each of the different vitolas. So you pick up the Longsdale, the Lancero, the Robusto, the Toro, and I want to say that they have one in a Perfecto. Don't they have a Perfecto?
They did, and I want to also say Petite Corona, but I'm
Yes,
going to tell you,
yeah,
if you
Petit
can't
Corona.
find those, it's go with the Oliva V. Oliva.
Yeah, yeah, the Oliva V. And now it's not just the Oliva V, but it's the Oliva V Milanio that you get those. And don't smoke them all in the same day, but smoke one each day because again, you don't want to burn out your palate. Smoke one each day, but smoke a different one each day and take notes of what you're getting on it. And that's really is going to teach you what we're talking about with just the explosion of the flavor of the wrapper. My everyday go-to when I have them would probably be Luciano's The Dreamer.
Solid smoke.
The Dreamer is such a solid smoke. My favorite, and I have a feeling this one is my will be my favorite until I can have had the opportunity to smoke the Foundation Tabernacle in Lancero. But up until then,
Mm.
favorite my favorite still is, and it's so hard to find if you can get it because it's not in production anymore. Is the PDR AR-75,
Mm.
which is
I
just
don't know.
that is
I don't know
just
if I
a
ever had that or not.
oh, it is a beautiful, phenomenal Lancero, one of my favorites. And uh, we've got a friend who's going through a difficult time, and been working with him on his humidor, and he has a number of boxes of that very stick. And I was looking, and I was just like, "Oh God, please let these be in good condition. Please let these be in good condition." And we're looking at them, and the boxes are sealed, and I'm like, "They're in good condition." And I'm just, just like salivating over this because I mean it's just such a phenomenal Lancero. It's probably hands down my favorite. Now, granted, I haven't smoked my ultimate favorite cigar, which is the Foundation Tabernacle. But that's if I had to say any cigar is my number one favorite, that would be it.
You haven't smoked that in a Lancero?
I have not smoked that in a Lancero.
Well, I can help you out with that.
I know. That's why I was saying next time I come out to your shop, I'm going to make sure I have some money.
Yeah, they those really do stand out. I'll tell you one of the coolest things that happened. We had a lady come in looking for and we actually have a couple of box buyers for the Tabernacle in Lancero, but they're just harder to get, and you run out and then you're waiting a while to get some more. But a lady came into the McKinney shop and she was looking for those, and I I learned long ago never say, oh, just is this a gift? Yeah, if they're kind of like, I don't know anything about cigars, probably. But just based on what she was talking about, I could tell she knew cigars. I said, "Are these for you?" And she goes, "Yeah, yeah. This is my favorite. I want to get a box of these." And was like, "Oh, fantastic!" So yeah, had a lady come in buy a box of the Lanceros just for herself. So
It,
that's why we
and
got to do a
I'm
ladies' night.
yeah. Oh yeah, we need to.
We
That
need to
would be
set that
fun.
up.
Put that on our to do list. But I'm gonna say like one cigar that a lot of people do not realize that comes in a Lancero is my father's, because normally we see the my father's and you do not, like, a lot of people are not even aware that they do come in a Lancero. And my whole thing is like, I love, like, my father's is a good go-to comfort stick. You know what you're going to
Hmm.
expect, you know what you're going to get. And like for the longest time, I didn't know that they came into in a Lancero. I went out to cigar shop, and it is kind of funny. One of our mutual friends, Soraya, was starting to smoke cigars, and she had never smoked a Lancero. And so I was just like, I am going to go and get her some Lanceros. And the first ones like I picked were like, and she hadn't even had my father either. So I gave her, the the three that I found, and she was like, "Oh, the bands are pretty, like the ribbon at the bottom, because we like the pink and the turquoise and we talked about women are like, woo, we like the colors." But like my whole thing is like, it when you have my father and a Lancero, it like puts it up to another level. It
They're very,
like
yeah.
it's
People love them. They do well in the shop. Um, and I worked in a shop where again guys would specifically ask, "Do you have the My Father in specifically a Lancero?" They didn't ask for other Lanceros; they wanted the My Father
Mhm.
in that Lancero. And the reason a lot of people don't know about some of these sizes, or that the manufacturers make these sizes, is because people don't carry them in shops. And the reason they don't is because we have to make money, because we have to pay people and have to be able to turn the lights on and all of that. So you got to look at what's going to move. And Lanceros are not going to be your fastest mover. God, it'd be great if they were. I would love that. But they're not going to be your fastest mover. So you got to figure,
Mhm.
where are you going to invest that money in inventory? And it's going to be something that's going to turn faster. So it's a bit of a luxury for us. that we can do as many Lanceros as we do,
Hmm.
because not
Well,
everybody can do that. And honestly, some shops, they don't want to mess with it because it will be slower to turn. So they want to put something in that spot that's going to move quickly. And I totally
Hmm.
get that, and I understand
so
it. But it is nice that we have that little bit of luxury.
Hmm.
my question comes then to, is it because they don't move? Bec- is part of the reason why they don't move is because we have so many tobacconists that don't understand the quality and what you're getting in a Lancero, and they don't know how to sell it. They don't
Oh,
know how to talk about it. They don't know how to upsell to that type of a vitola.
I think it can be. There's a shop in Houston. I don't remember which name it is, so I'm not gonna say it. But there's a shop in Houston that sells a ton of Lanceros because the owner loves them and he's educated his customers, and they carry a lot of Lanceros. So yeah, a lot of it, Gregory, is the education part of it. But even so, you're not going to be able to hand sell to every customer, and even if you do, not all of them are going to take to it. So you're still going to need to have that space, I would say, in most shops, because it is. And Red, you know this now. It's
yeah.
hard to hand sell
It
everything
it is.
because you've got a guy in there and you want to go work with him, and 18 other things just happened.
Yeah.
Um, you almost need one person just in the humidor and one
In the
person as
humidor.
a floater outside,
Hmm.
because you do want to work with each of them and do that. But yeah, I've talked to guys and told them, hey, here's what you're gonna get out of the Lancero, this, that, and they're like, nah, it's just too small. But okay,
Yeah.
whatever you like. I mean, behind the scenes, we all make fun of people's choices. We never do it to a customer. But we all have our preferences about, oh, they're smoking that, they're smoking this, whatever. We all joke. But at the end of the day, if they like it, that's all that matters. And when they come in and they apologize, which I always thought was interesting because I've never gone into a car dealership and said, I'm sorry, I don't know more about the vehicle. Um, I'm not very experienced, but they don't care. But people always come into the humidor and say, I'm sorry, I'm not really a cigar aficionado. I don't know much about cigars. Why
Yeah.
are you apologizing? You don't have. It's fine. That's why I'm here.
Hmm.
Yep.
Um, but what I tell them is, at the end of the day, all you have to know, blends, whatever, all that's great. But all you need to know is what you like. That's it. Do you like it? Yes. There you go. That's all the information you need.
it,
The rest of
it
this
it's
can be interesting and whatnot, but that's what you need to be a happy consumer.
and
Um,
that same applies to
so
wines and whiskeys too.
Hmm.
absolutely.
At the end of the day, smoke and drink what you like, and that's why we always say smoke and drink your best. And what is your best? Well, it's whatever you like, whatever's in your hand, whatever's in your glass right now.
Hmm.
But I think that you know people like Red and I, with here in the Twisted Pair and other cigar, and industry influencers who teach this kind of stuff, we can continue on with the education and spreading that knowledge out, so maybe someone will come into the cigar lounge and say, or hidden here into underground or to tobacco cabana or what have you, whatever brick and mortar, and say, hey, I was watching this podcast about Lanceros and I'm intrigued. I want to try one. What do you have? And we've got to
Absolutely.
have our tobacconists
Hmm.
that are there that can actually go, okay, what is your normal smoke? Or, well, my normal smoke is the my father's Le Bijou. Oh, okay. Well, we actually have that one in a Lancero if you want to try that one
Hmm.
and be able
Yeah,
to come out and be able to continue that education and make that as an offering.
it's great when you do have those guys because, as Red and I have talked to, she's learning more and more about the ins and outs. it's great to have those folks in the shop because that's how you're going to get the customers to stay with you
Hmm.
because they want to know not only that you care, but they if they're truly cigar nerd. I hate the word aficionado; it sounds snobby. Um, but if they're really into cigars, and they can find a cigar tender they trust who knows their palate, which is really the most important thing. You know, knowing the cigar, but knowing what this particular individual enjoys, and they build that trust in you. They're going to come back to you to say, hey, you know, you've never steered me wrong. What's new that I should smoke? What should I try? What do you like? You and I have similar palates. What should I try?
Right.
And uh, and once you're able to build that with a customer, it's fantastic because they will give something a try.
Here's a comment that we got from Nathan Clark, and I think this is so important that we need to
Hmm.
talk about this, is because in smoking a Lancero, you do have to treat it differently than you do your more standard vitolas of your robusto, your toros, your gordos, and such. And he states, I've had a couple of Lanceros. They tend to burn a little bit hot for me. So I wanted all of us to kind of talk a little bit about that. One of the things about Lanceros is they do have a tendency to burn a little bit hot. You have a tendency to have to relight them a little bit more because you have less of the filler, which is where your combustion comes from. What I have found with Lanceros is I will purge it more often. So I'll purge like every 5 to 10 draws on, and purging is where you're blowing through that. And the reason why it's burning hot is because those oils are so much more concentrated in the fillers themselves. And when a cigar is burning hot, those oils are burning hotter. And you also want to keep your ash on a little bit more. You don't want to ash it down because that's going to cause that cherry to burn hotter. So that's just what I do to try to help prevent that. So I don't experience that as much. Your guys' thoughts?
You might, you know, I would ask him how quickly, how long did it take you to smoke those Lanceros? And
Hmm.
are you a slow smoker or a fast smoker? Because if you're smoking that, say, in 45 minutes, that's probably going to burn pretty hot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, that can make a big difference, and it's also going to screw up the flavor too.
Right.
So
It,
that could be one thing.
yeah, and I was gonna go on that because like the whole thing of Lanceros, it is meant for you. It's not like if you have like 30 minutes, 45 minutes to smoke. Don't smoke a Lancero. Just that's my whole thing is because you're gonna it's gonna burn hotter, and then and you will get also because I have finished Lanceros quicker than what I'm supposed to, and I get more of that. It's kind of like a burnt taste.
Yeah, a little
It's
bit more
like
of that
a
char. I was just
char. It's
thinking
like a
that.
char burnt taste, and that's not when you start doing that. And if you're getting that when you're smoking the Lancero, you're going too fast. You're going too quickly through it. And as far as like for as like the purging, as far as that is I mean I've occasionally, but I've noticed whenever I've had to purge, it's because of the construction, because it's been wrapped too tight. So what I tend to do is like poke it with my tool, so that way it's not burning as hot, if that makes sense. It's
Well,
kind of
and
getting that
Yeah,
airflow through it, because like if you're having to do that, then you need to like poke something so some more air can get into it, and it's kind of got that freedom to expand, if that makes sense.
and I
yeah,
want to
it
bring up
does.
this one because Bert brings up a good question of the cut depends on it too, right? And absolutely the cut depends upon it. I've seen a lot of people do a like a punch cut on a Lancero, which is fine because that gives you more of a concentration of that smoke, but that could also lend it to burning a little bit hotter as well. So what I typically do is either a very thin perfect cut like what Red is showing there, but you got to be careful with the cap because the cap is going to be smaller because you have a smaller vitola. Or I do a very shallow V cut like what I've got. So I've got a very shallow V cut here, which gives
We've
me the
actually, I know
right
some
amount
guys
of
who
smoke.
they'll do a deep V on the Lancero and it works out
Mhm.
fine. It's
Yeah.
you got to be careful. You got to aim it just right. But they'll
Hmm.
do a deep V cut on there just to keep everything from backing uh,
Right.
Yeah.
up at the top. Red, you made a point of you mentioned charred and you were referring to the flavor. But one thing
Right.
I would mention um, when you're lighting a Lancero, using because everybody loves the giant, 12 burner, you know, gates of hell torch that can light anything. But when you're doing a Lancero, a single flame
It's
is
the best.
the best way to go.
Hmm.
Even I use it, Lotus doesn't make this anymore. Where they? But it's a dual flame, but it comes out to just kind of like a point.
Hmm.
They don't make that anymore, but they make one now called the Intrepid. Kind of does the same thing,
Hmm.
but it
Yeah.
allows you to just really get that flame focused on the end, so you're not charring it. Because
Right.
if you use four burners on that, it's too
Hmm.
much,
Yeah.
and
Well,
you're going to have
so
a hard time smoking through it.
I'm using a four burner lighter here, but
But hold it away.
it it comes up to it comes up to a point as well. And
Right.
so what I do is I just take the very tip of it. And the other thing you don't want to do, and you've heard me talk about so much about not hot lighting your cigar. And hot lighting is where you're coming in and you're just burning it as opposed to toasting the edges of it. And then your hot lighting is your taking draws on it. Well, you've got a smaller vitola, so you're going to be
Not
burning
out.
those
I've seen
oils.
profession. I've seen industry people highlight like that, and I don't understand it because
I
all they're
don't.
doing is you're just burning it,
Yeah.
You're just charring
and
it,
now you
charring it
just got
down.
charcoal at the end.
Hmm.
The
And
first thing I was taught when I started smoking was don't let the flame touch it.
no,
You
don't let
don't.
the flame touch it, and just
Yeah,
warm it up,
bring the
toast it.
flame to the cigar, but don't
Right.
actually light the cigar because you're going to damage it. That
And
And
goes
it
with
um,
the
doesn't
lip.
take and it
yeah,
doesn't take as much because you've got a smaller ring
vitola.
gauge.
Yeah. And that's what I was gonna bring up is like when you light it, don't touch it. It's gonna burn. The heat's gonna get it. It's gonna catch. But what I like on my like Lanceros is like the toaster. Have you seen the toaster? The flat flames.
Hmm.
Flat flames are phenomenal for
Yeah,
Lanceros. Like
I could. Yeah,
yeah. So like that's my thing is like if I do, I use a single flame, my single lighter, and I hold it out from my Lancero. And then because here's the thing is Lanceros are also delicate. It's kind of I'm not saying it's like a delicate in your hand or delicate, but it's like, you know, you only have a small area to work with.
mm.
So you don't want to get too much to it so fast because then that happens. So that's kind of like my thing is, and then matches work really well with Lanceros too.
Yeah,
Like
You know,
matches, cedar sticks. I typically will go with a cedar stick or a cedar spill with a Lancero because that way I can really, I can toast it that the foot of it really nicely and evenly on it. Whereas using that on a much larger ring gauge is harder to do. It takes practice
I
to get really good at it.
I have lost all ability to light anything with a soft flame. That was how I started back when I started smoking, and then
mhm.
torches came along. And now, if I try to use a match or any type of soft flame, I just char the hell out of it. And it's like, damn it, now I got to be a spot welder because otherwise the flame's just dancing everywhere. And it's like, you know what? Forget it.
So
it,
yeah,
I just can't do
it's
it
fun.
anymore.
It's funny for the IACS, the International Association of Cigar Sommeliers, for the certification of it, you have to submit 5 videos of you lighting a cigar perfectly, not burn coming down the charring down the edges of it. It's a perfectly lit cigar, and it's all a soft light, meaning I'm not hot lighting it, drawing in.
Right,
Because as a sommelier, as what you both know, we're lighting cigars for other people, and nobody wants their cigar in my mouth to light it. And so
right.
you've got to learn how to light, and you've got to learn how to do it with different types of lighters. And
Are there
so,
many places that like cigars for people still? I
there
know you
are.
mentioned that. How do you
Um,
feel about? I'll ask you both. Greg, how is it? Is it? I'll call you a professional smoker. Do you want to cut and light your own cigar, or do you want somebody else doing it for you?
I normally want somebody else to do it. I mean, I normally want to cut and light it myself. But I have gone to lounges, like I went to the Eight, which is a upscale cigar lounge
Mm-hmm.
in Vegas, and they lit the cigar for me. And then they said, okay, now they sat there and toasted the edges perfectly, and said, okay, now take a draw in and the hot light. And I was like, no, just hand it to me, hand me the lighter, and I'll finish
Right.
it off to where I've got a nice glow. And the last one that I had did, they were like, well, why? And I explained to them about how you're really damaging the flavors on it, to where then I have to come in about a half inch into the first third before I really can start getting the flavors. Whereas if you don't do that, you're not charring those oils, you're not charring that tobacco, because that's what it's doing when you suck in that flame. I mean, if I'm lighting like this, and I'm sucking that flame in, and so I'm losing out on those flavors that you
Mhm.
can
Mm-hmm.
get at the initial burst of the cigar.
For
I've always
me,
thought, yeah. Do you like that?
like if I know that the person knows how to light it, I don't
Mm-hmm.
mind them lighting my cigar. But if
Gotcha.
I don't know of their ability to light of a cigar, then I don't want them to light it because of that reason. So, I mean, I guess it's like who I trust. For example, one of the people who works down at the lounge, Tony, he holds it far and he toasts it. He toasts one of those things forever to do it. But then it's like I've had guys come into the shop and they haven't they're new smokers, they're new cigar
Mm-hmm.
smokers, and they don't really know how to light it. And if I've been in the humidor with them and they're like nervous to light, then I will light the cigar and I show them and I explain to them what I'm doing. This is how you do it. I'm
Hmm.
See, I like
teaching
the
them.
teachable part. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
like
do
the
too.
Um,
teachable part. But like I and then other guys in the lounge kind of joke and they're like, Red, are you gonna light my hey Ash, come and light my cigar for me? I'm like, no, y'all been smoking a while, you know how to do it. It's not a cut and light service unless you
See, that's kind of how I've always felt. It's kind of like when you go to certain shops where like, well, this is part of the prestige. It's like I'm not Churchill. I can do this myself. I know this is supposed to be part of the experience, but
right.
I just paid $26 for this. I can take it. I can take it to the end zone. You got me here.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and plus, I don't know. I'm even more leery about how they're going to cut it.
Yeah.
Because I've seen some horrible cuts from people in shops. It's like, wow, no, don't do that. Can I get my money back because you just
Yeah.
hacked up the cigar? It just seems
Yeah.
to me kind of like a holdover
Hmm.
um, from fancier. God, that I can't think of a better word. But just more of the societal times when people would do that and have their cognac, and of
It,
course dip that in the cognac, which you also don't do, kids.
it
Don't do that.
it's kind of like the concierge type service.
Yes.
There's that
And,
concierge type service, and sometimes that's nice at a higher dollar place. But I'm also with Red. I mean, when someone is lighting a cigar for me, I'm sitting there like going,
Yeah, I'm
See, that's the
watching.
thing. It's like now I'm judging you.
Yeah.
Like I
Wait,
don't know. I
stop.
don't trust you. Yeah. This is
It,
something I know. You cooking a steak, like hell, I don't know. I trust the guy back at the grill. But when it comes to the cigar, it's like, no, this is actually something I know.
yeah. So, I
Um,
mean,
hey,
yes,
um,
sir.
But bougie is the
yes,
word that you're
bougie's
looking
a
for,
good word,
Philip.
Albert. Thank
And
you.
and
That is
and
that is a
this
very good word.
and of course he would know it because we call him Bougie Bert.
Um, but as you guys were talking about the way we use lighters, pro tip, kids, when you're using the lighter, God, I'm so backwards on this. Don't hold it under. Don't do
Yeah.
that. Put it out here, because then you're going to come in and go, hey, my lighter's not working. It's got schmutz in it. Well, there's a reason for that, because you're dropping ash in there.
Hmm.
So if you kick it out to the side, still not touching it with the flame, but just hold it out to
Hmm.
the side, the ash goes down, not in your lighter. So that's a way
Yeah.
to preserve your lighter life.
The way that I describe it is let the flame caress the foot. Let the flame just caress it. Let that heat, let the flame, and watch the glow. Watch the glow of the foot start to turn red. And when you have a nice white on it, a nice
And
even
turn it.
white, and turn
Turn the
it.
cigar.
Turn the cigar. Do not ever, people. I've seen so many people do it
You can't
head
see because
on.
you got to lift it up.
Yeah,
Don't ever go head on. Don't ever
no,
go
because
head
you're
on,
just
and don't.
screwing all the end up.
And a lot of people, I think a lot of people want to draw the flame in because they get some level of excitement as they're sucking it in, and they're seeing a big explosion of
Yeah.
flame.
It makes a great photo for Instagram,
Oh,
Yeah.
it
but
does. But
at the same time, it's
Ruining
um,
it.
if
yeah,
we're spending 12, 15 on low end for a cigar, and I mean I've spent 45, 55, $100 on a cigar myself, and I'm absolutely never going to touch the cigar like that way, and I don't want people touching my cigar and lighting it that way because it's going to
yeah.
impact the
It's
flavors.
you made the point when you were bringing up the price of the cigar, and I think we touched on earlier. A lot of times people will stay away from Lanceros because they say, well, they're so expensive. They're so much more expensive. But right now, they're really not that much more expensive. When you look
No.
at the way cigars have gone up, I would say the average price of a cigar now is probably $10 coming into a shop. You can find stuff lower, but probably average is going to be $10. So if you're looking at a $13, $14 Lancero, it's maybe $4 more than average, because there's just the costs have gone up so much on the price of cigars right now. Just various different reasons, shipping and all of that stuff. That could be a whole different show. Um, but yeah,
Let, let's
it's funny
let's
because
do it.
when I started smoking, people people would be like, "What do cigars cost? $10?" Well, it was 96. The average cost was about $5.
Hmm.
Um, but now I think Aficionado said the average price of a cigar they review is 12.
Yeah.
So there's that to factor in. That yeah, it's really kind of right there in that regular range with the rest of the products.
Hmm. Well, and it's another thing is like people have got to understand because they're
Like
sitting there
Albert said.
thinking, like the thicker ones, like the bigger ring gauges, you can smoke those faster than like your Lanceros. So you're actually getting a longer smoke. So it's worth that extra money because it's a longer smoke.
Well, I
You know.
mean, just look at each of us, for example, right now. I mean, we've been on the show for an hour and 4 minutes. We all lit our cigar right as the show started. Mine is was a 6.5 inch, and I'm sitting here at I'm about halfway through.
Well, and my thing is like I'm gonna be. I was being this like this one was. I'm smoking a little bit faster because I'm getting that sweetness, and that's the part that I was like usually is like there's a sweetness to tobacco that is there, and we don't really get to experience that sweetness on the leaves on the wrappers. And this one is just got a beautiful sweetness. It's got some graham cracker sweetness, but it's also got a kick to it. So that middle part was like super sweet, and I was enjoying it. So I went too fast on mine. And and here's my thing: someone starting out, I wouldn't recommend that. But it's like I smoke a lot of cigars, so I'm a big girl. I can handle it.
A Lancero is definitely not your entry level cigar.
No.
No.
By any means. And this is something that Nathan is bringing out some good comments. He says, yeah, but $4 is 40%. Just saying. Some people are coming into a shop wanting to get into the hobby and are trying to ball on a budget. I built my palette on the $20 four packs at my local brick and mortar, and that's a great way to get into it. You made a comment at the very beginning, which I thought was so perfect about a Lancero, and that is a Lancero is really it's for the experienced or the educated.
Hmm.
And I think we talked about this on the last time we had you on the show, is that there's a difference between a person, someone who smokes cigars, and a cigar smoker. A
Hmm.
person who smokes cigars is that one that comes in and wants it to feel good in the size of their hands. They're going to be, it's like, I want to be looked at as like I know what I'm doing with my cigar, even though I don't.
I think
That's your
those are more
cigar
social
smoke.
smokers.
Yeah,
So cool.
that's a
That's
person
a
who
guy
smokes
who,
cigars.
yeah, I want to, I want to hang out with my buddies and watch something and just have a cigar because the rest of them are. Um,
Yeah,
when I started smoking, it was '96, so it was not quite the end of the boom, um, but it was getting to that point. And when I started smoking, a couple of my other buddies started smoking. All the young 20-something middle managers who can brag about what cigar you're smoking and how much you paid for your tie. But now, out of all those people I smoked with, I'm the only one who still smokes because pretty soon the cigar fad was over. So it was like,
Hmm.
well, now that's not what people are doing. And I was thinking, well, that's how I did it. I did it because I found out I really enjoy this. I like the flavor. I enjoy the time that I'm able to smoke it. This is a great hobby. I love this, and I enjoy doing it. I don't care if this is the thing that's on the cover of every magazine or whatever.
Hmm.
That's not uh, the source of my enjoyment from it. So
Hmm.
there are those people who want to do it that way, and you're right. That's not the guy who's probably going to be able to appreciate the Lancero. Just like, there's some great bourbons out there that some guys can't appreciate because they just want to sit and have some drinks with their buddies and BS. And they're not going to
Hmm.
be able to tell one thing from another. It's just, it's bourbon, it's fun, loosens me up. But they're not there to really just say, hey, wow, what am I getting from this?
right. No,
And so, yeah,
I
there's that
was
big difference.
I
Hmm.
was just about to go down that path. The person who smokes the Lancero is also going to be the one who's going to appreciate a nice scotch, or is going to be appreciate the difference between, say, a uh, a Booker's, a Booker's 2021 number four, batch number four, over a Four Roses yellow label, or a Four Roses small batch, or a single barrel select OBSD uh, blend on it over a Evan Williams bottled and bond.
Right.
You
Well,
know, or
back to that quote from Herklotz. It's an educated, confident smoker that enjoys a Lancero. Um,
I like what Joe says here. Joe says if you can look like a badass smoking a Lancero, it must be a badass Lancero. And
hey,
then Bert follows it
Clint
up.
Eastwood.
Oh yeah,
Hmm.
I mean, they were
Bert
true
follows it up.
roots, but
Well,
there
then
you
look what
go.
Bert follows it up with. We're all badasses then.
There you go. Um, yeah, if you look at the old westerns, I mean, granted, there you wouldn't call that a Lancero. It was a dry cured
Hmm.
for the most part, um, but that was a small cigar.
Mm-hmm.
That was a tiny little cheroot that Clint Eastwood had in his mouth. And,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to cross him. I mean, the man's like pushing 90, and I'm still not going to piss him off. I'm not stupid. Um, there's there's even a scene in Open Range with Costner and Robert Duvall where I guess they have Cuban cigars, and they're trying them with some Swiss chocolate, but they're Lancero size.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that
Well,
they're going to try. They're a smaller gauge, but it's a real cigar that they had imported, that they're going to try. Which I got to say I appreciate, because if I'm entering a gun battle, why not go out smoking a cigar and having some chocolate before you get shot?
Yeah.
I just
there
think
you go.
that's smart.
Well, okay, so we're talking a little bit about history here. If you look at the biggest, one of the most famous stories in the cigar industry in history was John F. Kennedy right before he
Oh yeah,
started the
Free market.
embargo on Cuba. He had his secretary go down to Cuba and buy as many as he could of his favorite cigar, which was a Partagas, and it was a Corona size, a small ring gauge. Well, you also have Churchill, who had a cigar vitola named after him, and the Churchill, contrary to what a lot of people believe, is not a big ring gauge cigar.
no,
It's a lit.
it's
I mean,
not.
it's a 40. Sometimes it's usually around a 48
Mm-hmm.
ring gauge. So it's still a small ring gauge, very close cousin of a Lancero. So even people in history, is what we're talking about, smoked the smaller ring gauge cigars as
And
opposed
I mean,
to.
you can't argue with the cool factor of Winston Churchill and JFK.
Mm-mm.
Oh no,
I
no,
mean,
no,
just
no.
that's not going to happen. It was funny. I was watching. I forget what it was. I think it was The Crown, the one where they had John Lithgow playing Churchill, and he was smoking a 60 gauge cigar. And I know whoever picked that out was like, "Well, this film's better. This looks right on camera." And it's like, it's true. It's going to photograph easier and be able to get in the shot. But I was sitting there going, that's totally inaccurate. That's not at all what he smoked.
Mm-hmm.
No,
And then if
it's
you look at
not.
Darkest Hour with Gary Oldman, it's more time appropriate. It's a longer, smaller gauge that he's smoking. And it's like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's what he would have had. He would have had a 60 gauge. They weren't even around.
And then, I mean, the king of all cigar smokers, right here, George
Exactly, George
Burns.
Burns.
I mean, look at what he smokes, and we've got that meme that's going around where he's on the Johnny Carson show, and he's smoking a cigar and or it was either Johnny Carson or Letterman, but it's like how many
It was Carson.
Letterman?
It was the Tonight
Okay,
Show.
Oh,
how many cigars do you smoke? 20 a day? And he's smoking a smaller ring gauge long cigar that would be equivalent of a Churchill.
yeah. That was Johnny Cash. Yeah, that was not Johnny
Yeah,
Cash. Why did I say Johnny?
Johnny Carson.
It
That
was
was
Johnny
Johnny Carson
Carson.
on the Tonight Show.
Yeah.
And that guy, smoked 20 cigars a day, 20 plus cigars a day
Up
up
until he
until
died, pretty much.
he died.
Milton Berle, the same. He smoked a lot of cigars.
Marlon
I always like
Brando.
it when I watch old TV shows and it's like a guy's got a cigar, and it's like, oh yeah, the days when you could, still have a cigar, and nobody would freak out. Although, funnily, Jesus, oddly enough, I was watching for some reason a rerun of Simon and Simon, more so just to see if it held up. Which, spoiler, it does not. But there was some drug dealer, and they were, this very wealthy guy, and he's going to get this brick of money out of his humidor. So brick of money, this guy's loaded. He opens up this very plain humidor, and inside are just these machine-made piece of crap cigars. And you can just tell, it's like, okay, so you've got a stack of cash like this, and it's like nobody in production was like, you can't use those. Get something with a band on them at least. No, we can't. You can always tell when there's no cigar smoker involved because it just falls apart.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, a guy with this money's not smoking that. That's just
Yeah,
not
no.
it.
And then you're criticizing it, and then it ruins the film. You're like, oh, I can't watch this anymore.
It's always
enacted.
the villain. It's always the villain, unless it's sometimes Tom Selleck. He was smoke on Magnum, and he still does well. Used to on Blue Bloods, but he on Blue Bloods would always have a Fuente.
Hmm.
Yes.
Any movies he did, it was always a Fuente that he had. So I always appreciate that. But yeah, it's always a villain with greased back hair. You know, it's just slick back and getting ready to take over the world or something and lights a cigar. It's a stereotype. It's one I'm
No,
not
it
fond of.
is.
They need more
So
good guys in movies smoking cigars.
Hmm.
we should do a show sometime just talking
About
about
movies.
movies and cigars, or famous people in history, and in famous people and their cigars.
I did a podcast about that same thing for a little bit with Brandon Luna from McAuliffe, Cigars and Cinema, and
Oh,
we would talk about
Yeah.
their portrayal, in the movies. Could you see the band? And um, it gets to be difficult finding content after a while
I
to
I, I can
to dig.
imagine.
Yeah, but no, it's fun because you want to see it represented correctly, and Kevin Spacey by most accounts is a cigar smoker, or was. So it always irked me in Superman Returns, which it had its moments, but when Lex Luthor cuts a cigar, he cuts like half
Oh,
an inch off of it, and it irks the
oh,
crap out of me. I'm like, come on,
oh,
Spacey should know better. Now,
yes.
maybe
Right.
it doesn't show him cut it, so it could have just been a hand model that did it, but it was still wrong.
Yeah. It
And I was
it
like,
hurt my
it
soul.
just drove me
It
nuts. Yeah.
Yeah. It like ripped out my heart, and I was like, oh no. And you're not enjoying it. Yeah.
Mm.
And you're watching it, and you're just waiting. You're no longer pay. If you're a cigar connoisseur like we are, a professional smoker, or what have you, whatever you want to call us. We're no longer paying attention to the movie. We're just waiting for that cigar to start unraveling.
Yes. It's something that takes you, or when they half-ass light it with a
Yeah.
match, they take like two puffs, and then it's like that thing's not even lit.
Hmm.
Or they use a Bic lighter to light it. They'll pull out their Zippo, but the Zippo is still a standard Zippo instead of the torch. And
Well, everybody, you want that sound. So see, you can use one of these available
Yeah.
at
yeah,
the cigar lounge, where it's
Yes.
got the insert, so you still get to make the sound.
Yeah.
Um,
available at the
I love
Cigar
that.
Lounge in McKinney
That
and Plano for
that
only
that particular one.
$9.99.
Maybe a
And
little
they're
more.
available
I'd
in
have to
black,
check.
red, blue.
I just threw a
Actually, I
number
think
out there.
black, red,
Don't
and blue. Yeah, you can actually. I love Zippos. I just love the sound of
Hmm.
them and all of that. So I
oh I
love grabbing an insert and just throwing it in a Zippo, because then
Yeah.
I can nervously fidget.
I
Yeah.
I've got I think two OSOC Zippos,
Hmm.
and just I love it. Pull out the insert, you can see how much fuel that you're putting into, and you have that whole sound that
Mm-hmm.
brings it to it. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's nice that somebody came up with that. That was one of the first things I learned. And when people ask me, can I light with this? Can I light? I'm like, look, you can use a Bic. I don't recommend it, but whatever you do, for God's sake, don't use a Zippo. That's like, your burger's gonna taste like lighter fluid. That's why we cook with
hmm
gas.
Yeah.
You're gonna take all that in to the
Well,
cigar.
and
So skip
and
skip the
that's what
Zippo.
the thing is like if you're going to get a Zippo, make sure you get the insert because they do
You
make them.
have to, yeah,
You know.
because that smell you get when you fill the Zippo, that's going into your cigar.
Hmm.
Cigars are just giant sponges,
Yes.
really.
Yes.
Anything in the
Yes.
air, it's gonna soak it up. It's gonna soak up that smell. That's why I bag flavored and non-flavored cigars separately. I don't even know if the customer notices or understands why. But if you're buying a non-flavored, Connecticut Robusto, I don't want it to taste like your flavored
No.
cherry cigar or whatever. I want it to be separate. So I'll bag them separately for people,
Yeah.
just so there's not that bleed over. And then guys will
and
say,
that's
"Well, I'm just
what
going to throw
that's
them into the humidor with the rest of my pipe tobacco." Like, what are you going to do?
it, and that's when I use it as a teaching tool. It's like, because we do have the flavored for the people who prefer the flavored. And I always tell them, okay, you're getting this, don't put it together, or you're going to lose the taste of the cigar. you know. But what they do on their own time is, you know.
Hey,
Okay,
if
so
that,
so here we've got a great question here for us, and this is for all three of us. Again, from Bert. Bert is helping us out on all of our different channels, and he's asking this question from the YouTube channel. Uh, for a smoker that's been smoking cigars for a while, what Lancero would you recommend to take to your smoking experience to the next level? So Red, let's start with you, and I'll close it up.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's when I ask them, okay, what do you normally smoke? What profile are you looking? Because, we each have our own different palates. So if they're not into like a very spicy cigar and they want something more of a San Andreas, then I'm going to direct them to that Lancero. And normally on the Lanceros, if they're new to Lanceros but they're inexperienced, I still tend to start them off on a lighter one, like a medium body, because what's medium bodied for the other Vitolas, it's kicked up a notch for the Lancero, if that makes sense. You know,
mm,
Yeah.
So I kind of tend to, ask them their palate, what they're going to go for, and then go from there. But if they can handle some, if like for example, if they can handle the black label, then like that, and I'm going to go to the Oliva V that I had when I picked up and I even told Steve and the guys because I took it over and I smoked it at the Plano, and I'm like, dang, this has got a kick to it. I wasn't expecting that much. I knew it was going to have a kick to it, but I didn't know it was going to have that much of a kick to it. So I wouldn't start them out on that Oliva. Kind of like it's going to burn out your palate, like Philip was saying.
Okay,
yeah,
Philip, which
like
one? Which one?
Red, I feel like I need more information to answer the question properly. What do you currently smoke? Um,
Yeah.
but generalities say it's somebody who enjoys medium to full-bodied cigars. They're a seasoned smoker, and you want to just try an excellent Lancero. Both of those tabernacles, the Connecticut broadleaf and the Maduro, are
Mm-hmm.
great Lanceros. Uh, and like Red said, even the My Father, if you're a My Father smoker, um, man, give those a shot in the Lanceros. They're fantastic. Um,
Like this
if
one.
you like the one
Yeah.
Red's holding right there,
Phenomenal
um,
beginner, Lancero.
it is, and the one that we've been able to get a lot of people started on, and again, it probably a price point thing too, but also just the strength of it is the Aladino Corojo Elegante,
Mm-hmm.
because I think when that thing came out, it was $7. I think it's about $8 now. But I mean, here's a cigar with some serious sweetness to it. It's smooth, but you can taste it, but it's not going to punch you in the head, and it's strong enough. There you go. You can smoke it at the end of the evening, but first thing in the morning with a cup of coffee, if you just want to kick back and read the paper or whatever you do in the morning, it goes great in the morning. But
Mm-hmm.
you can smoke it any time. But that's kind of like one of those just you could smoke it any time and enjoy it
Yeah.
Lanceros. But yeah, if you're looking for something where it's like, hey, what's a higher end Lancero that they're going to just take it to the next level, either of those tabernacles would be great.
I was going to say, just so I could see the expression on y'all's faces, the Black Star Line War Witch and Lancero,
He,
but and that's the expression I wanted to see. But no,
The
I
Flor de
would I
Toro,
would
I recommend highly. Just anything that says Flor de Toro, snap that up.
I would
People who
probably
speak
I would
Spanish are laughing right now.
yeah.
I'm just
right.
letting you know. Spanish speakers like that. Good.
I would honestly, for somebody that's new, and I'm going to take the non cigar shop tobacconist and go more towards the the connoisseur route. Just I would probably have to say I would probably have to say possibly like the my father's Le Bijou, the my father's Grand Oporto, like what Nathan has just said, is both nice. Both nice. I would say I'm not going to say medium body because I hate that classification when it comes to flavors, because body doesn't have anything to do with flavors of a cigar. It has to do with how much smoke is in there and how heavy that smoke feels. Um, I'm going to go with. I would probably go with the Luciano Dreamer because it's a nice. It's a nice, well-rounded flavors of a cigar. I believe it's got the Ecuadorian Sumatra wrapper on it, which gives you nice sweetness and nice earthy tones. It's nice medium intensity cigar with a nice body to smoke, and it's not going to be overbearing,
Right.
overpowering.
Well, in the Traveler, I would even go as much to say the Traveler because it's more of a. It's not. It's it's a beautiful balance. I
Yes,
would even go with the Traveler over the Dreamer if for those for someone for that.
I got
I
a question for
the
both
Traveler
of
would
you,
be really good. Okay.
just for grins and giggles. Has there ever been a cigar that you have tried and then you tried it in a Lancero and were disappointed in the way it tasted in the Lancero or the way it smoked in the Lancero? And you don't have to name it. You can just say yes so you don't call anybody out.
Yeah.
I honestly can't think of one that I've ever tried in a regular, in a standard vitola, and then turned around and tried it in a Lancero and was disappointed.
There
I
was
can't.
there
I
was
cannot think of one.
I remember doing that, and it was very it was surprising to me and incredibly disappointing because I thought, man, this is really just going to take this flavor profile, which was fantastic. It was multiple blends, um, and then released in Lancero, and I thought, yeah, if I can read lips, I think you're right. Um, and it was like, man, this thing doesn't draw, and it didn't taste like it was blended for that size.
Okay,
Because you
so
got to blend it
which one was
differently.
it? I don't read lips. Which
Yeah,
one is
which
it?
one was it, Ash? I don't want to say. I got to work with
Well,
these
no,
people,
I would
damn it.
say it is my thing is when you have multiple blends of it because we know that some of them have like 4 or 5 blends of a cigar. So when you're taking those 4 to 5 different blends and you can do it like in a
This was 12
in a
different blends.
robusto, yeah, and you can do it in a robusto or something like that, it can stand up. But then you put it in a lancero and it's heightened. And
Hmm.
it's
Yeah,
not going to go very well. So here's another thing: is when you're looking at a lancero, you want to make sure that it's not too many different wrappers. It's not too many different fillers or
yeah.
binders
It just
because it doesn't work. It just doesn't. That's just the
Yeah.
realistic. You
I
want kiss it,
they
keep
had
it
plenty of
simple.
time to work on the blends.
Yeah,
I mean, only
but
one came out a year. Did I say that? Um, they just it was just really expecting it to just to have that punch and even more flavor than the regular releases did because I
yeah,
thought those were fantastic, and then it just and it
yeah,
surprised me too because of where they came from that I thought how is this not drawing, and why am I not getting all that flavor out of it?
yeah.
Follow-up question: what have you smoked that you wish was in a Lancero that isn't?
Hmm.
Oh. Oof.
Here's my thing is like I haven't come across very many like like Honduras like like those or like that you know because normally a lot of them it's like Maduro Nicaraguans the Corojo Incani I would love it if it was like in a Honduras or Dominican. You know,
Any specific manufacturer, any specific blend.
right now I'm gonna go with like one that the immediate one that came. I would love a Harvest Hang Time by Tap or Viaje. Viaje. I would love that in a Lancero. That would just tickle my fancy for that.
Ah,
And here's this one. This is, I believe, is like with San Andreas, the Super Deluxe. That's one that I would also start off somebody with was the Super Deluxe because it's like more of like a San Andreas, if I remember correctly. Um, and you don't see very many San Andreas in a Lancero.
Sure.
Bert beat me to it, but I would have to say this would be the one that I would love to see in a Lancero.
The porcelain
I,
from
the
Black Label.
Black Label.
Black Label. I would love to see this one in a Lancero.
James and
And
Ava, get to work on it.
okay, so Nathan is saying he's taking this off topic. Um, and this would actually be another good show. Um, but why was the Candela super popular 30, 40 years ago, but almost non-existent now? Been curious about this. I've had a couple, and I don't get the hype. Uh,
I
first of all,
Because it was available.
Candelas are very hard to do, very hard to do
Like a
because
young leaf, like
what
me.
what's the candela is a very young leaf. It has not gone into the full
Hasn't been fever.
fermentation. I would love to see somebody do a Lancero in a candela, and
Oh,
there's
there's several out there.
really because
We haven't
I'm
gone
not
back by
familiar.
them, but then I could. Yeah, LD did one, but it was hard to get into the shop. But we had a guy who loved it, and I've tried. I thought, I'm gonna give it the old college try. I'm gonna try the candela. Just no. Now, if you blend a candela with something like Black Label does, and
Killer
I apologize, I
Bee,
don't.
Killer Bee.
Yeah, but they
Killer
do a
Bee.
Lancero. They do a Lancero where
Uh,
it's Maduro
I,
with a
uh,
candela. I like that. It gives it a good blend, but just a
right.
straight candela, yeah, Illusion also does one. You're right. Thank
See,
you, Alvin.
and well, Nathan and both Albert said that, and when it comes to Illusion's Candela, it's okay,
But
I
but
think they all taste
it's
like
not.
grass.
I
I
love it.
it's just
I
it just I
I
It's a
can't
actually
enjoy
great
it.
summer cigar. And here's another thing. And it's like we had Sebastian with Cavalier on, and he he does my all time favorite Candela. And like, and you can only get them at one shop. It's at Smoker Abbey's down in Austin. It is the most gorgeous candela that is available. And like I have talked about it, I've written about it, and then Graybeard even gave it the old college try, and he loved it. It was one that he's like, wow, this is I could get more of it. But also they're very difficult to work with to get with that blend. And that's what he was saying. He goes, it is very hard to blend it with other cigars because they have the
Yeah,
older. So it's a delicate leaf. It's hard to blend. It's the way that it's done. It's it's difficult. So that's more of why is like it takes longer for them to come up with something that's going to blend well with it. That's going to do something, and that's what a lot of the when you talk to the blenders and you talk to the people who create and make the cigars is they talk about like Candela's like the Achilles heel. It's a difficult one to
there,
do.
there's a few that can do it really good. The
Hmm.
Illusion 88, which is the one that we've talked about from Illusion. They, it's okay, but it's not a great candela. Sebastian's candela is one of the best I've smoked, and I would love to see. All right, Sebastian, if you're watching this, I'd love to see if you can come up with a Candela that's in a Lancero.
I
Not a very well-known blender, but Jack Wyatt. I absolutely love Jack Wyatt's
Candela,
Candela.
the
His
good one.
his Candela is
Jack White,
exceptional.
Jack White. Which Jack White are we talking about? White Stripes, Jack
Uh,
White.
no, Wyatt,
We can't.
White,
Wyatt.
white.
Oh, okay, yeah. The guitar
Yeah.
player. Is there nothing he
No,
can't do?
no,
Um,
it's
I think,
um,
and I could be completely wrong on this, but I think the reason you saw him so much like in the '70s, like Colombo only smoked Candelas, was you weren't getting the good cigars from the Dominican and from Honduras at that point. Couldn't get
Hmm.
Cuban, so it
Yeah.
was a lot of machine made, and that was the cheapest, easiest wrapper to use.
Hmm.
And so that's why you had so many of them back then. I think I
Yeah.
could be
I
wrong,
think
but I mean
I
that was pretty much what you saw a lot of people
no,
smoking.
I think you're right on why we saw so many because we did see a lot of them back in that time period.
I'm
But
gonna have to go because, like, I'm gonna have to go with y'all's experience because, like, I was
Is that
like
a shot?
born at the very. I was born at the
That a
very
shot.
end of the '70s, so I wasn't around to experience that.
well, and I mean I've been smoking cigars longer than any of us here because I started in '92, and I smoked a few Candelas back in the time, and that's we had more Candelas even in the early '90s.
That's true. Yeah,
Than what we had, what we would classify as, uh, as the Colorado Maduros and the Maduros, in the Colorado, which, is what
Mhm.
we call the natural right now as well. But they weren't called Candelas back then. They were called Claros, which is the actual
yes.
Leaf.
name of the color
Yeah.
of the leaf.
And
Is the
Yeah.
people still
is
use both names just to screw with you and confuse you.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Just to
it,
totally just so that you go, wait, what? Oh, is it? Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. It,
Yeah.
anytime you
just like
see
with cigar
Claro,
sizes.
that's a Candela.
That's it.
Or
Yeah,
anytime you see Candela, that's actually a Claro. It's actually a double Claro, a double Claro, which is that green leaf. But it's it's still you find a good one, and it's hard
Mhm.
to find a good one because they're so much
see,
harder to blend. You got
and I've
you
tried
got
them.
it.
I think they have to fall into that category for me of Scotch and meatloaf because it's everybody you hate meatloaf till you try mine. No, it's still meatloaf. It's but you got to try this nice Scotch. It's like to me, it still tastes like Scotch. It's not my thing. I'm a bourbon guy. Same with Candelas. It's like it can be a better Candela. You can get some out of it, but I don't have the. It just doesn't hit me.
It
But
Maybe
doesn't
if I
fit. It
pair it
doesn't
with
fit your
meatloaf and
palate.
scotch, that's it. Meatloaf, scotch, and a Candela.
so,
That's what I should have for a dinner.
but but here's another thing because he's Nathan did say it tastes like long clippings. So I'm gonna
That's
like
what I get out of it.
yeah. And my thing is it's all whenever I smoke, and I want to enjoy something. And when I smoke the Candelas, for example, it is it takes me back to beautiful memories. Like whenever I smoke a cigar, there's always a memory that comes, flashes up. It doesn't matter, if I'm at the shop smoking or at, on the show smoking or whatever. And to me is like, and I've said this on the show, is growing up, I would go to Alabama and visit my pop's farm. He had a cattle. We had a dairy farm. So anytime I have a candela, that brings me back to all those beautiful memories. And then in the summertime, when we are in the heat of Texas, and if I'm smoking outside, I don't want something that's going to weigh me down. I want something nice and refreshing. And
That's
usually
true.
I'm drinking an IPA with it. A lot of people don't like the IPA, but that's a good to go. It's a good to summer beer for me. And that's what I'm doing is I'm looking for something that's not going to knock me off my feet when it's 103 or 104 early in the morning or even late at night if it's 110. I want something that's light. And I think that's kind of, that plays a part in it as well.
You need to set up a smoking room in your house. That's all there is to it. You
Well,
just, both of you, just set something up, get some humidifiers or
We're
whatever, and
working on
smoke in
it.
the house like
Soon
God
as
intended.
but see, I like, and here's my thing. Like, I invested in the summertime. I invested in AC for. I have it out in my garage. I smoke out in my
Yeah.
garage, so I have my air conditioning, and then and I'm gonna bring this up, and I'm gonna call him out on it right now. And you probably know where I'm going with this, Philip. So it
I
was
have
in
no
the
clue,
snow.
actually.
Yes,
What's
we're
that?
sitting there in the snow. We're at
Oh,
home.
yeah.
Do you remember this? And it is cold. And I have my little heaters and my
Oh,
blanket.
and I'm
I'm
smoking. Yeah,
comfortable.
I'm smoking. Yeah, you're smoking inside or outside freezing, and I'm just like sitting on the couch watching TV.
And he sends me a picture. Like, I said, hey, enjoying a cigar in the cold, and then he's like, here's me in my living room enjoying it while I'm watching TV. And I was like, oh.
so
You know,
so
I
so when
I think
when are
of
we
my
going to see the
parents. You
Philip
know,
smoking a
it's
cigar? Philip, when are we going to see the picture of you smoking a cigar in your fishnets?
that's never gonna happen, sir. Never gonna happen. I no.
He's going to leave that
Hell,
up to
I tried to just score free beard product off of Instagram, and I crapped out there. I was like, hey, look, just send me a free $20 jar of whatever. I'll try it. Just send it to me. Help me supplement. This stuff's expensive.
yeah.
But yeah, it
You,
didn't work. Nathan was saying he loves Scotch. I so wish I could develop a taste for it. I really do, but it never clicked for me, and I don't know why. It didn't happen.
You started
But
off as a
I
bourbon
like liquor,
drinker.
so that's probably
Yeah.
why. That's probably why. And see,
do
you
you
said it right.
enjoy
Not a
rye?
bourbon connoisseur. I was a bourbon drinker, Graybeard. I was not sitting there getting essence from it. I was sitting there just like, yeah, loved bourbon.
Yeah. Do you enjoy
I
So,
rye, though?
what yeah, what about rye?
yeah, I do. I do. I even like I don't remember the name. There was actually a port wine I liked, and I told that to somebody. And they're like, nobody likes port, and I was like, well, I liked it,
I love
and
port is my go-to. We
yeah,
and
it's
yeah, we were talking about that. Actually, when I was working on Friday, one of the guys brought up some bourbons and some different things for us to try up at the shop. And he's like, Red, I know you're working. And he's like, but you got to try this rabbit's hole. And it was the Burgundy label. I can't remember which it was, but it's a $90 bottle, $98 bottle. And that was
Um,
some smooth bourbon. Then I tried
that's
another one. Philip's like, you're not supposed to be drinking on the job. But no.
no.
I
You're not supposed to be drunk on the job.
Yeah, that's
There's a
right. That's what you said.
there's a
Different.
huge difference.
Yeah.
I
But
understand because customers are very friendly. They're going to
yes.
share, and I can appreciate that, and it also gives you an opportunity to pair stuff. And maybe if the customer's sharing, it gives us an opportunity to say, hey, if you like that particular blend, maybe you should smoke this. Try it with this cigar.
Well,
The
and
only
that's
time
what
it
he was
becomes an
asking.
issue is you
Mm-hmm.
don't want your employees to the point where it's like, wow, they can't lock the door, or they're giving away product, or they forget how to operate the register because they can't stand. That's my only thing.
Yeah.
Just don't be drunk on the job, but
Yeah.
it's part of it. It's in addition to liberal dress code and getting to cuss, it's one of the perks of the gig. There's not a lot, our
all
health plan
all right.
is sick.
All right, folks. You've heard it here from the man himself. Bring Ash Fred something to drink while she's working at the shop. But and I'm
Well, and
joking on
most
that
times
one.
there's somebody else there while she's there, so that works too.
Yeah.
I we should do a bottle night up at the cigar lounge.
Eh,
I
One
wanted
of
to
our
do
bottle
like a
nights.
white elephant, because I understand that's what you not Hebrews do. For Christmas, you can do like a white elephant booze exchange, and I know one shop that does that, and I thought that could be fun for people, but
mm-hmm.
I guess you gotta set limits on it and say, hey, you can't,
Yeah.
$10 bottle of whiskey and hope to score a $50 bottle or whatever. But that could be something fun.
Yeah, and
But yeah,
that's
great beer. By all means, we could find a night and you guys could go up and just kind of do that and suggest pairings to guys.
well, and
Uh,
that was the whole reason. He's like, hey, he goes, can you go pick out a cigar? He had me taste it, and he was like, what would you pair with this? And I went Cameroon. I said, and he went in there and got a Cameroon, and he's like, oh my gosh, this is so good with this. And then like someone's like, well, what would you pair with this? So it does come in, and that's why they asked me. They're like, what would you pair with this? And they went in and got the ones that I suggested, and so it always makes it more enjoyable, and it heightens the whole experience, and that's what we've always talked about is that.
Okay, so let's close this out with let's close this out with two aspects of this. Okay, what's your closing comment around Lanceros, around Vitolas as well? From like thoughts, educational purpose, or what have you. And then let's each close it out along with that of what is a pairing that you recommend that includes a Lancero.
um, as a non-drinker, the only thing I'd say, everything goes with coffee. Um,
Yeah.
So a coffee,
but
a good coffee, good Lancero, and a good coffee, and your closing thoughts on Vitolas,
I,
is
I
to
think I really want to see customers give the smaller vitolas a try. I don't. I think there's a lot of great small vitolas out there that people are missing out on because they're
Mm-hmm.
prejudged by the size of it, by
Mm-hmm.
the gauge, that they
Yeah.
decide it's too small, I won't enjoy it, or they judge it, like by the cost. And I think I said this the last time I was on. It's like you can go out and buy, get 2 fingers of whiskey for $15. Well, how much is the bottle? Why are you buying 2 fingers for $15? Because it's an exceptional whiskey. Okay. Same thing with some of these smaller vitolas. Yeah, it's a little bit more, but it's an exceptional cigar. It's going to have a flavor to it that's going to knock your socks off. Don't be afraid to try them. And also, set aside the time to smoke that. Don't look at it as well, I can't smoke it on the golf course. Of course, you're going to want something different on the golf course. But when it comes to those times when it's just you want to sit and relax, that would be the time to try it. So I
Perfect.
think it would be a great time. Uh, and I wish people would consider those and look into them and ask their retailers about them, not just at the lounge, but just anywhere, because I want to see the smaller ring gauges continue.
Yeah.
Several manufacturers have canceled lines, not necessarily lines, but some of the sizes in those lines, and it's all been the smaller vitolas. You
hmm
Mm-hmm.
still got the Robusto Toro Gordo, Churchill, but some of the petites and the Coronas, they're doing away with because that's production time you can use on something, on another size. But also, it's just the tobacco it takes to make those cigars, and then not to be able to move them as quickly. So the more people who smoke them, we can keep those things going. So yeah, I would really just love people to take a chance and honestly not be disappointed. I've never given anybody a Lancero and had them say, "Yeah, it tasted horrible," or "Yeah, I didn't get anything out of it." They know what they're getting out of it. Whether they return to it, maybe not, but they do know that it's a quality cigar when they get it.
Okay, Red.
Okay. So
Like this Capa
I'm
Especial.
I'm gonna go with like I'm gonna pull out my Lancero Bishop Blend, and I'm a stout. I'm a beer girl. So I've really enjoyed that with like and I think I'm not sure if it was a peanut, the Temptress. It was the Temptress by Lakewood Brewery. It is one of my favorite stouts that's out there. It's rich with the milk chocolate, but it's not so much it's
hmm
not too much. It's like the perfect. consistency. And I paired it with the Bishop Blend Lancero, and it was just one of those things that knocked it out of the park. And I'm gonna bring this up. So, here's my thing: is if y'all can kind of see my logo, what is she holding? A Lancero. Okay, so I have the love of a Lancero, and I'm always gonna encourage people to, if you're gonna sit, it's kind of like Philip said, sit back, take the time to enjoy it, take it all in, and enjoy the moment, enjoy the journey through the cigar. Because yes, thank you. Yeah, Joe got that glass for me, so thank you. So my whole thing is like enjoy is because that's where you're going to get, in my opinion, the best experience of a cigar. If you really want to know if it's a good cigar, if it's a good manufacturer, if it's one of those things, go for that. And that kind of reminded me of like another one when you were saying what's a good Lancero to start with. Cavalier, their white series, they
Oh
make
yeah.
a white series. I can't believe I forgot about that until just now. Um, they make a white series Lancero that is just a beautiful Lancero. It is, and that's also offered in different vitolas for people to kind of compare and stuff. But that with a red wine, the white series Lancero with a red wine, I would even pair it with a port. That is really good. But that's my whole thing is if if someone's going to spend their money, I usually tend to take them to the smaller ring gauge sizes because I really want them to enjoy the taste and the experience of smoking that cigar versus the bigger.
I would have to say, as far as my closing comments, with regards to Lanceros and smaller ring gauges, if you really want to to take your smoking experience to that next level, don't be afraid to try. Get Step away from the whole size whatever BS that you're that's stopping you, that's blocking you, and try something. So whether it's the Corona, it's the Petite Corona, it's the Longstale, Lancero, the Churchill, any of these smaller ring gauge type sizes, try one.
Hmm.
Because you will not be disappointed. Step outside of your box, step outside of your boundaries on that, and just try. A one that's easy to get, the Oliva V Milanio that we've been talking about throughout this entire show in the Lancero. Grab that one. It's a great smoke. It's a great cigar, and pair that with either a stout if you're a beer drinker, like what Red was talking about. I probably would go with like the Cigar City Maduro malt.
I was going to
That
say you could even do a peanut butter stout would be really good with it too.
I If you're a wine drinker, do that with like a nice Pinot Noir, a Tempranillo, something like that. It's going to be a nice balance of flavors. For me, since I'm the whiskey guy, I'm the wine guy, but I'm also the whiskey guy of the group. I would actually take that one and go with a nice rye, higher proof rye, because that way you're going to get those oils. That's really going to bring out some of the some of the tropical fruit notes from that wrapper, because that's an Ecuadorian wrapper. And so you're going to get some of those nice, beautiful tropical fruit notes. It's going to balance really well with that rye. Or I would go with a Highlands or a Speyside Scotch with that.
Philip.
Yes, I go with the Highlands or a Speyside, not an Islay. That way you get those fruity, those floral notes. So that's going to really balance that great. Um, Gabe has brought out a great point on this, from the business side. And those of you who don't know Gabe is one of the owners of 262 Cigars. He's one of their blenders for that. And he states, a great point here. Small ring gauges versus returns remain inversely related. It
Hmm.
becomes a question of this the hill that you want to die on.
Hmm.
or get enough braving fans to pay the price on an unlimited amount. And
It's true.
Lancero's smaller rain gauges
Hmm.
are smaller amounts. And as what you've heard all night long, they really don't move on the shelf as much as the larger ring gauges. If you want to try somebody who specializes in ring gauges, and that's all he does, Rojas brings it out right. Albert says it right here. Rojas
You know,
statement, Blue Bonnet, KSG.
Oh, that's a good
shameless
lens.
plug. We do our house stick, which is blended by Rojas. We carry it in a Lancero in Plano, $5. So if you want to try a Lancero, $5 for a house stick Lancero made by Rojas. Great flavor to it. So that would be a great way to try it. But I think right now this is the groundswell. This is when people can start trying those smaller gauge cigars. We'll get them off the bigger gauges, and right now because of this, the two of you Lanceros are going to explode. I don't
I
know.
hope I hope so.
It would be great if you did. No, actually, what you need is you need somebody on the cover of Cigar Aficionado talking about it, and then
I'll pose like this.
that way.
I'll pose like
There
this
you
with the
go.
Lancero with the cover on the cover.
Um,
unfortunately, it won't happen. But I will do this. I'll write up an article. I'll write up an
it's a
article
lot of love there.
and post it on the website of talking about vitolas. I've been looking for an idea and talk about the different vitolas and what you can see or expect from them.
Yes.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Um, because again, it's education. As with anything in cigars, it's education. Um, Nobody walks in knowing everything about cigars, and so you teach them and you
Hmm.
explain it. Not You're not pedantic about it, but
Right.
you just let them know what all's involved, and hopefully you grow somebody into the hobby. That's the thing is it's not easy to get a new cigar smoker. It's not like somebody's just like, son of a gun, I've never tried cookies before. These are freaking fantastic. Where have they been? That's an easy sell. Getting
Yeah,
somebody to try cigars to become a cigar enthusiast is difficult. Getting them to try it, and then that comes back to, and again, could be a whole other show. Red knows this. That's the importance of when you get somebody in your shop who's brand new. You know, treat them right. Pay attention to them
Hmm.
because this is somebody who could be a long term customer, not only for your shop but for the industry. Because
Hmm.
hmm
as the industry goes, so go all of us. You know,
Hmm.
yeah, Lanceros are a harder sell because there's not enough of us. It could be the same with cigars, though. The more people you get involved, you continue to see the industry grow. You still have cigars coming out, new blends coming out. So those are the people. Once you get them and they express that interest, you gotta really treat them right and show them what they can get into, what they can enjoy about it. Because those
Hmm.
people,
absolutely.
they're few and far between.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Well, Philip, thank you for coming on with us again.
Oh,
We've loved
thank you,
having you.
Graybeard. It has been fun. I enjoy it every time. Um, so yeah, my pleasure, really, because it's a blast for me, and still going for the record.
Yes.
Not
I'm
a not.
actually I finished my first one. I didn't bring my nubber, so I took it down to the nub, and then now I'm finishing up the one that I actually started when I came up here and set up, which is another Lancero, is the DC walking stick.
Good,
So
good
it's
Lancero.
another great Lancero. There's a lot of great Lanceros. There's a lot of great cigars. Step outside of your box.
Hmm.
Step outside of your comfort zone of it and explore. Try different things out because that's the only way that you're going to grow your palate. It's the only way that you're going to grow the appreciation of what's in here, the craftsmanship of it, and that's going to help grow the business, help grow the
Absolutely.
industry, and take that industry where we wanted to go, which is the true experience of the cigar and not just smoking a cigar because it looks cool.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because few of us are actually look cool doing it. I can
Yes.
Yes.
attest to that.
Gives you cool points. So,
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
yes. Thank
You guys
you.
take care.
Okay.
You too.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Look forward to seeing you in the shop, Graybeard.
Yes.
You will. I'll come up there. So
Sounds good. Take care, guys.
next, as
What's that?
Albert. Oh, I was just bringing it on to the next aspect of it. Is
All
what we
right.
always close it out of. What's our next week's challenge? What are we
We
doing next
actually
week?
may have a guest next week. Get this
Oh,
from you. So, and I need to confirm. So here's my thing. If we've talked about brick and mortar, we've talked about that. We've also, in this week, if you don't know, TPE is going on in Vegas. So they're going out there, like cigar manufacturers, selling their things, coming out with new cigars. That is coming up. But what about the mobile lounges? We have been seeing, this has been the latest trend, is cigar mobile lounges. Also, cigar events. For example, like NFT. That is something that we've kind of been pushing and encouraging people to come. In March, come to the Underground. It's the largest boutique festival that we have going on. So there's also, like, if you're not in Texas, there's other things going on. So next week, I'm going to get confirmation is we might have on someone that has a mobile lounge, and they go to different things. They're around. So that might be that. And also what it takes to put on a cigar event, that we have.
ooh, I
So
like.
I thought that would be fun. So I'm going to get confirmation, and most likely I will not be the only lady on the show next week. So just kind of put that a mutual friend, and I'll have to go to that with you later on. But so that's probably going to happen. If not, then we will post what we have for the challenge. So yeah,
I like where that's going. I
yeah,
like that. I've
yeah.
had a couple of mobile lounge owners as well that have reached out to me about
Mhm,
possibly doing a show. So maybe we can do a couple of shows of different ways that different people do mobile
mhm,
lounges because
yeah,
there's different ways that you can approach that,
mhm,
especially when you're bringing in the spirits or the wines or the beers, and bringing in those pairing aspects of it as well.
yes.
Different challenges.
Oh no, that's not who it is. But for to answer Gabe's question, so but anyway, I hope that our listeners will try a smaller ring gauge. I hope that they're willing to try a Lancero after this experience. That they'll give it the college try, make sure it's lit properly and all that stuff. I would almost say to go because someone said, "Oh, maybe I should try it with matches." If I would almost say a single lighter and just to toast it, or a toasting lighter. If you have a toasting lighter, to try to do that with the Lancero. That's just kind of my final thoughts on that.
I
So,
would agree as well.
yeah.
And I think the perfect final thought is what we say every show as we close it out. You explore. We always say explore the pairings.
Because
Ex,
there's some. Oh, go
yeah,
ahead. Because there's something for everyone.
because there's something for everyone. That's right. But explore your options. Don't just try just the same cigar every single time. Switch up the
Yes.
vitolas. Learn your blends. Learn what makes that cigar something that you enjoy, and try a similar blend in a different vitola that you haven't tried
Yeah.
before. That's where you're gonna grow. It's the only way to grow
Yeah.
is to
It
try
is.
things new.
Yes.
So, another great show. Loved having Philip on here. Such a great guy. Thanks
Yes.
for bringing him on, Red,
Hmm.
to join us with us.
And I
Lots of
loved his
just
analogy of the double stuffed Oreo.
yes, I
That
did
is so
too.
true. So
That
true.
was perfect. And talking
Hmm.
about food, with you spend money at a finer dining restaurant, you get smaller portions, but you're not there to stuff yourself to the blues of it.
You're there
You're
for
there to try for the experience, to try to try something that has that a master has done that has a lot of good flavors on this.
Yeah.
And when it comes to Lanceros, only really the best of the best can do a Lancero and
Yeah.
just knock it out of the park.
Yeah. So
So make sure you tune in with us next week. Please check out our YouTube channel, subscribe, follow. Go out to the LinkedIn if you have LinkedIn. Follow us on LinkedIn, Leaf and Grain Society. We're on all of these different platforms. Follow us, like us, subscribe, and until next week, explore the pairings.
there's something for everyone. Night, y'all.
Good night.